Hello everyone and welcome to Module 5. This week our focus is on neurology and neurological disorders. So that means we are going to have 3 chapters that we're going to focus on. Those are chapters 25, pages 565 to 576, chapter 37, page 850 to 853, and chapter 41, which is pages 938 to 947. So let's go ahead and jump on in and start talking about each of these chapters a little bit more. So chapter 25 is going to begin our discussion on neurological disorders and the neurological system. Before you can really understand your role as a medical assistant, you need to have an understanding of the system, its functions, and what the structures are. The nervous system is a vital component for the human body. It is responsible for transferring information through electrical impulses that travel along the length of your cells. Your nervous system is made up of neurons and has 3 main functions. The first function is to detect and interpret sensory information. It will take that information then and make a decision about how it should be received. And then the third and final step is it will carry out a motor function based on the decisions that were made in the brain. So now when we start to talk about the nervous system, you need to know that it is made up of specialized nerve cells called neurons. And we have 3 types of neurons in our bodies. We have motor neurons, sensory neurons, and interneurons. Motor neurons will control most of the body's functions. They will cause your muscles to contract, your glands to secrete, and your organs to function. This type of neuron is efferent, which means that they transmit an impulse away from the body to the cell body in the central nervous system to then stimulate your organs, muscles, and glands. Your sensory neurons are attached to a sensory receptor in the body. They will transmit sensory information from those receptors to the central nervous system through a peripheral projection. Sensory neurons actually lack a true dendrite and are sheathed so they more closely resemble axons. And finally, we have our interneurons, and these are actually called associative neurons. They are located completely within the central nervous system, and they will act as a liaison between the motor and sensory neurons. So now that you know what the structure of the nervous system is, you need to know that it is made up of 2 systems. It's made up of your central nervous system and your peripheral nervous system. The central nervous system will consist of your brain and your spinal cord. This is the system that will receive impulses from your entire body, process the information, and then respond with an appropriate action. So because it deals with your brain and your spinal cord, it's important to know that your brain has 12 cranial nerves that are specific to regions in your brain and are responsible for different functions. Here are those 12 cranial nerves. You can actually find this in your book as well, but I'm giving you kind of a brief overview here, so that way you can actually print this out and keep it for yourself for study purposes, both for your quiz, final exam, and also for your CMA exam. And you can see that each of these have a different role within the body, and they control different functions in the brain. Your central nervous system also consists of your spinal cord, which extends from the base of the medulla oblongata in the brain all the way to the lumbar vertebrae. The function of the spinal cord is to conduct all sensory impulses from the rest of the body, send those to the brain, and then the brain will send back a motor response that your spinal cord will then send out to the rest of the body. It also serves as a relaxed center for your nerve impulses that do not need to pass to the brain. Next, we have your peripheral nervous system, which is composed of your cranial and spinal nerves that connect to your central nervous system and other parts of the body. The peripheral nervous system gets divided further into what we call our somatic and automatic nervous systems. Your somatic nervous system is made up of nerves that connect to skeletal muscles, sensory organs, and your skin. They are what we refer to as your voluntary nervous system, because we actually have to carry out an action. We have to do the motor response. For example, walking, picking something up, extending your arm, waving goodbye, playing catch, hitting a ball. All of those things are part of your somatic voluntary nervous system. They respond based off of your 5 senses. So things that you see, what you touch, what you hear, what you taste, what you smell, all of those things relate back to your somatic nervous system. And then we'll continue out a motor neuron response. Your automatic nervous system is what we call your involuntary function or involuntary nervous system, because it is responsible for controlling involuntary functions, such as sweating, telling your heart to pump, your stomach to digest its food, to, sweat when you're hot and shiver when you're cold. All of those things are part of your automatic nervous system. We don't tell our bodies to do them. They do them automatically. Then this system further gets broken down into 2 other parts called your sympathetic and your parasympathetic. And those 2 very easily can be called your fight or flight. All right, so I will leave the rest of this chapter up to you guys to read. And let's move on to chapter 37. So 37 is talking about how you assist as a medical assistant with neurological exams and the Department of Neurology. So you'll work closely with 3 types of people, typically a neurologist, a neurosurgeon, and a psychiatrist. A neurologist is a physician who specializes in treating and diagnosing conditions of the nervous system. A neurosurgeon is a physician that performs surgical procedures on the nervous system that are required due to injury or disease. And a psychiatrist is a physician who treats mental and neurological conditions that affect the behavior. Now, as a clinical medical assistant, you will have your normal duties such as rooming your patient and obtaining vitals. You'll also have to review the history and complete any forms that they may need, schedule any appropriate tests or procedures, and prepare the room and assist the physician during types of exams that will help to focus on the state of confusion or consciousness of the patient, their reflex responses, their motor responses, speech patterns, and their behavior patterns. Then you'll also provide patient education and support based on whatever treatment the provider has ordered. And finally, we're going to talk about chapter 41, which is dealing with and talking about geriatric patients and their neurological conditions, and helping to keep in mind that they'll have different changes to their body as opposed to younger generations. They'll have physical changes, mental changes. They'll be confused or depressed. Physical changes are a constitutional process from the day we're born to the day that we pass. And there are several factors that will impact how your body will change. Things such as genetics, lifestyle choices, your occupational hazards, nutritional choices, healthcare services or the ability to get healthcare, physical and social environments as well. Mental changes or mental deterioration is not a part of normal aging like most people think. This does, however, increase the risk due to various physical disorders. Mental health refers to the capacity to cope effectively with life changes, life stresses, and emotional balance. To maintain a good mental health, patients and everyone really should remain active and engage in social interactions. Confusion is a term that we use to indicate what a person, or if a person, cannot follow a conversation, answer questions appropriately, understand where they are, cannot remember facts, or make sound judgments. With this, we also have to think about what we call sundowners, because it is a type of confusion that is seen with patients with Alzheimer's or other dementias, and they typically occur after the sun has gone down or typically at night. And lastly, they could be depressed, which is defined as an abnormal and persistent mood characterized by sadness, melancholy, slow mental process, changes in eating or sleeping habits. Medical depression is confirmed when 5 of the symptoms above that I just listed have been present daily for at least 2 weeks. Now, we also need to talk about some of the common disorders that you'll see with the nervous system. Patients can have dementia or Alzheimer's. Dementia is a syndrome marked by a progressive loss of memory and other intellectual facts and functions. It can occur at any age, but is more frequently seen with the elderly. And about half of the dementia patients will suffer from Alzheimer's. Now, Alzheimer's is a progressive disorder of your central nervous system that eventually destroys mental capacities. Patients can also have Bell's palsy, which is a weakness or paralysis of the muscles that control expression on one side of your face. They can have different types of headaches, migraines, tension headaches, cluster headaches. All of those are types of headaches that people can have. They might also have neuralgia or Parkinson's. And neuralgia is the general term for nerve pain that is associated with brief, shooting, or severe pains. And Parkinson's is a progressive disorder caused by degeneration of your nerve cells and parts of the brain that control your movement. Alright guys, so that's going to wrap up Chapter 41, Chapter 37, and Chapter 25. As always, I'm going to put in my tidbit. Please make sure that you read your assigned sections fully, so that way you can get a better understanding for your discussion boards, quizzes, and your lab class for the week. Now, you do have one discussion post that will have your initial post due on August 1st by midnight, and your discussion board is talking about dementia versus Alzheimer's. And you'll need to do some research and determine whether dementia and Alzheimer's diseases, in your opinion, are two diseases or disorders that are the same with different names, or if they are actually two different diseases. Once you have discussed that, you'll also need to share with us why you feel that way. So that will require you to maybe provide some more education. So make sure that when you're writing these out, you're using proper APA format with references and in-text citations. You'll need to reply to at least one classmate no later than Saturday, August 5th by midnight. You also have one quiz this week, which is all over neurology, so Chapter 25, Chapter 37, and Chapter 41. It will be 10 multiple choice questions. You'll have a 10-minute time limit, and this will be due by Sunday, August 6th by midnight. Alright guys, that's all I have for you for Module 5. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please make sure that you are reaching out to me right away, either via course messaging in Blackboard, or giving me a call at my direct line at the Rockford campus, which you can find on your course homepage in the top right corner next to my picture. I hope you all have a wonderful Module 5, and we'll talk again in Module 6. Bye guys.